Good evening. How are you? Well, I'm getting back from the hospital and I just had to feed the animals a little bit, so I thought I'd say hello. There are a couple of things that leap out at me. That's not to say there aren't others, but first up is the mass graves that they found in Ukraine, in a place called Bucha, I believe it is, near the capital. And they have pictures of bodies on the ground, and they have pictures and instances of people with their hands tied behind their back. Looks like they were executed mob style, or if you will, dictator style. So the significance of this is that there appear to be, and maybe there never are, any rules about how to conduct a war. It's a brutal business, and we do everything we can to terrify you, and there are no rules. That is certainly what Putin thinks. And here's the thing, the people that are his troops, some of them mercenaries, some Russian, the whole collection, they say is retreating from the area. But this is my concern. My concern is if you will throw people in mass graves and treat humanity that way, in such an inhumane, without a thought, without a care way, then where do you draw the line? And I think what he did in Chechen is what he may be setting up to do here, which is basically to pound the ground from the air and force everybody into submission. He's getting his own troops out of the way before he does that bombing. Now, I could be wrong, but I'll bet you that there are 8 programs from the strategy groups at the Pentagon that say exactly what I'm saying. And you can be sure it's a concern. Now, when you consider the atrocities, this being the latest one, how does America claim to be a democracy and not do something about it? How could we have an agreement with a man who, if you imagine it, it's like he's, well, I don't think I'll say that because I just think it's as impolite as who he is, but the all-consuming, bloodied killings for what? To expand his third-rate empire? That's it. That's the whole thing. But for us to stand by and not to charge in and beat the living daylights out of this guy, because the history of these dictators is not good. So that's number one. Number two, this is a version of an ongoing beef I have. You know, we're told now that Biden thinks that sleepy Garland should have, maybe looked into the insurrection. Now, I hate to say this, but I find that incredible. Because think about it. It sounds like they sanitized his expression through a leak so that he would have deniability for his attorney general doing nothing for a year and 3 months. Okay, so I'm suspicious and I'm cynical, but damn it, it just stinks. The whole thing stinks. And today, the experts on the air, they drove me nuts. They were saying, hey, he was a judge. He's used to pondering. He's a ponderous person. And this requires what action? Okay, well then Biden should have never appointed him attorney general if he doesn't have the skill to do the damn job. And what is the job? When someone overthrows a government, do I have to send you a memo to explain to you that's a crime and it's something you should be investigating and prosecuting immediately upon taking office or being approved by the Senate, one or the other, which would have been, March of the year that Biden became president. So now, here's the thing. We've seen this before. They're now remodeling Garland to be a deliberate man who doesn't want to do anything in a rush. Because what he does could be worse than what? Worse than these guys trying to take over the government? Give me a break. What is worse than that? That the Republicans would make it a campaign issue? Well, damn it, it should be a campaign issue, but it should be our campaign issue. And if they're going to come back and say, oh, they were just touring the Capitol. Yes, and that's how people die. and that's how they broke in. Most tours require you to be checked at the door. These guys checked the door and just charged in. So here's the problem. We saw it. Take Barr. Let's take the last Attorney General. They projected an image of a seasoned establishment man who could be the head Attorney General. And he gave all sorts of BS assurances at his hearings. So Sartre had this view that you are nothing potentially, but you are only what you do, your actions. That's how we know who you are. So I knew Barr was going to do terrible things. After all, he was involved with the pardons involving Bush Sr. and other kinds of things. So he was going to be for an aristocratic dictator type president. And he was monarchical, the swing to the far, far right, because we can't trust the citizens with votes and to do what they think they should do. So here we have it again. And there are people projecting onto Garland the temper and demeanor and insight and ponderosity that's going to make him finally investigate. And this is happening even as some people are saying, well, I don't know if we can indict Trump. Well, really, there's nobody else that you should more than him. He is the head of the snake. He is the person who should bear the brunt because he was the one who did this to get for himself a presidency that he didn't earn at the ballot box. And so he tried to take it in a Hitlering attack on the Capitol, and it failed, and we should make him pay for it now. So finally, let me say a couple of words about Holly. Some of you have said that you want to know what's going on. And it goes like this. I'll sanitize it a little bit. Day by day, you don't know what's going to happen. I mean this sincerely. You really don't. Even though there are geniuses gathered around every morning talking about what they're going to do that day at Johns Hopkins for Holly. And it goes like this. They try to scout out the problems of having a new set of lungs. And they have more medicines and oversights and tests than I think you could imagine for any other kind of surgery. And it should be that way. And I am so impressed with the men and women who do this. And so what happens is Holly survives the operation. That is indeed a real question in every case. Then after that, how do you speak to your lungs? And that goes up and down. Right now, she is, and I'm glad to say, she's at 70% of her and her new lungs, and that makes a difference. But we have good days and bad days, and the bad days have been a little worse, trying to figure out what's going on. So you would have a bad day, and you have two ordinary or good days, and then you would have another bad day. Yesterday was a pretty bad day, and today it's like Holly came back. And I don't want to get ahead of my story, but today she did well. She earned her stripes as the patient, and I tried to do what I'm supposed to do as a caretaker. And some have joked that I'm trying to get an internship as a nurse. Well, my science background and my need to understand myself, in part so I can tell Holly, but also so I don't go crazy myself. So I want to thank you all for your prayers and your kind statements and your imaginative remarks. But just saying you're thinking of us is a balm, B-A-L-M, to the soul. It gives us an ease about this very difficult time. And I have all sorts of people saying prayers, and people tell me they're irreligious saying prayers. And I say my own fair amount of Hail Marys. So thank you one and all. And if I can, I'll be out tomorrow, but it depends on whether we have a good or a bad day. And then there are my legal cases that I do Sometimes at the hospital they have a room, and sometimes at home in the morning or night. So, and then there are the animals. Other than that, nothing much is going on. So, good talking to you. All the best. I'll try to talk to you soon. Bye-bye.